Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be looking at some anticipated releases for the months of April, May and June. This is a video series that I do quarterly looking at anticipated releases, so I can link that playlist looking back on the past couple of years now, typically looking at 10 books that are coming out over the next 3 months. Today I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts. The whole house is just a disaster zone. So, if you'll excuse me, I've managed to try and create some sort of aesthetic background, but this is not what we are seeing. We have the bathroom as an absolute demolished zone. We have the front room as the new bathroom parts. We just have mess and dust everywhere, everywhere. In here it's just full of all things that shouldn't be in this room. So everything is a little bit chaotic, which is why I have missed last week's video, because there was been way too much chaos this week. I'm literally having to plan my life around when I can shower, and showering in locations that are not my home, because we don't have a second bathroom, we just have the one. So it has been a little bit stressful, but that's not why you're here, not why you're here. I'm looking forward to having a beautiful renovated bathroom in about a week or so, but for now we will live in this stress and this mess. In April, by the time we get to these releases, I will have this lovely bathroom, and so we will look ahead to when these books come out and my house is no longer a disaster zone. We have a whole mixture of releases coming out over the next 3 months. I don't think it's quite as stacked as January, February, March, although I feel as though that's typical. Like February, it seemed to stack it very heavily, so it's not quite as heavily stacked, but I definitely found 10 relatively easily. If I've missed any and there are any books that you're really anticipating that I do not mention in this list, then please let me know about them. I will also link all of the Goodreads synopsi down below for you to check out and have more information on them, and the release dates are as per UK Amazon. We will dive in. In April we have a mixture of some fantasy and some romance. I feel like the first half of the year, or the first quarter of the year, there weren't that many romances that I was particularly interested in, apart from the Ali Hazelwood release, which I have not read yet. But coming to April is when some of the big romance names are coming out with their releases. On the 1st of April, a busy day it looks like for releases. Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez is coming out. I have read, I think, everything Abby Jimenez has written, and I actually do have like a little short thing that I did of reading authors that share the same name as me, because we do share a name. So in this we're following Xavier Rush and Samantha. They meet, they have an absolutely perfect date. It goes incredible, possibly the best in living history. But Samantha is forced to admit the truth that her family is in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible currently. So she's like, we just need to forget about each other. I know it's great and perfect, but we need to move on. I'm guessing there's going to be some distance, or they're not going to be in close proximity to each other, but they cannot seem to forget each other. I have really enjoyed Abby Jimenez's other books and really excited to see where this one goes. I feel as though she generally quite typically blends like romance with real life struggles quite well, whilst having like some deep hitting messages but also having some light-hearted moments and tones. Also on the 1st of April, on a very different note, not romantic at all, A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett is coming out. This is the sequel to The Tainted Cup, which I have also not quite read, but I am very interested in reading. And this is a fantasy series, but with a sort of mystery, murdery twist. And we're following a detective who is investigating these mysterious murders. I think that they have some quite horrific elements to them. The person in this first book was killed when a tree spontaneously erupts from his body. So a death that is at once terrifying and impossible, and our main character is tasked with trying to find out what's happening, and this mystery leads to a scheme that threatens the safety of the empire itself. So I've really enjoyed Robert Jackson Bennett's other works. I've read both of his trilogies, and I am excited to dive into this one as well. It's just finding the time, finding the right moment. Yeah, and the final book that's coming out on the 1st of April is the third and final book in a trilogy that I have not started, but that is Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner. The first book in this series is called God Killer. They all have very beautiful covers, like stunning covers. God Killer is centered around this world where these gods are hunted, but this one particular god has bonded with a child, and as a whole cohort, they're trying to figure out how to separate the god and the child and that relationship. I've generally heard some really good things about the series. I just haven't got around to reading it, but having this third book out will mean that the whole thing will be complete, which is a great thing. It's a great thing when everything is just finished off and you can just dive in and read the whole lot. I say that and then I don't actually end up binging series. I just read maybe one book a month, but in theory you could binge it. If that has been what's putting you off from reading Godkiller, then no longer. You can binge the whole thing as of the 1st of April. Speaking of sequels, the second book in the Stardust Thief, or the Sansi trilogy, is coming out. This is written by Chelsea Abdullah. I have once again not read the first book, but I do own it, which is coming out on the 15th of April. I believe this has been is reminiscent of 1001 Nights and series such as the City of Brass, so things that I have really thoroughly enjoyed in the past. It weaves together the gripping tale of a legendary smuggler, a cowardly prince, and a dangerous quest across the desert to find a legendary magical lamp. So we start following Luli Al-Nazari, who's a midnight merchant criminal who, with the help of her gym bodyguard, hunts and sells illegal magic. One day she saves the life of a prince and draws the attention of his powerful father, who seeks for her to find this ancient lamp. With no choice but to obey or be executed, they are compelled on this journey to find this artifact. I believe there are some romantic elements as well throughout this, and I think the first book came out actually in 2022, so it's been a good few years. Not sure quite what caused the delay between books one and books two, and also if that delay is going to continue into book 3 or not. Because of all those buzzwords, I feel like I'm going to enjoy this. I just have been delaying whilst waiting for that second book to come out, knowing that it's going to be a trilogy. And then the final book that is coming out in April is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, which comes out on the 22nd. Emily Henry is one of my favourite romance authors. This is why I said it's the month of some of the big romance authors coming out with releases. This is her latest release. So this one, we're following 2 writers as they compete for the chance to tell this woman's life story. So one of them is called Alice. She's looking for her big writing break, and Hayden is a Pulitzer Prize winning novelist. And they're both on Little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, but she has led an extravagant and exciting life, tragic arrest, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied families. It sort of sounds a little bit like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, or that sort of women-esque, but Margaret, this woman, has invited them for a 1-month trial period, after which she'll choose the person who'll tell her story. But I imagine that Alice and Hayden are going to start catching feelings for each other, and it's going to be driving them together. Maybe they'll end up writing the book together, who knows? I have faith that I will enjoy this because of it being Emily Henry, although it does sound a little bit different to some of the books that she has written in the past. So that is April. That's everything that's coming out in April. We will now move into May, and I have 3 books to talk about in May. The first one on the 6th of May is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. This is his latest release, and it is a brand new series and world for him. I have read some of the First Law. I've read the First Law trilogy, and I am on the novellas, but I've got quite a bit to read in that First Law universe. But this is a whole new world that he has started writing in. The synopsis is a little bit vague, but it says holy works sometimes require unholy deeds. Brother Dias has been summoned to the sacred city, where he is certain a commendation and grand holy assignments await him. But his new flock is made up of unrepentant murderers, practitioners of ghastly magic, and outright monsters. And the mission he is tasked with will require bloody measures from them all in order to achieve its righteous ends. Elves lurk at our borders and hunger for our flesh, while greedy princes care for nothing but their own ambitions and comfort. With a hellish journey before him, it is a good thing Brother Dias has the devils on his side. The genres that's got it as fantasy, horror, dark fantasy, historical fiction. So I'm guessing it doesn't really tell us loads about the plot, but I imagine it's going to be quite violent and graphic and a little bit horrific. And then on a very different note, on the 13th of May, A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen is coming out. This is the sequel and finale to A Fate Inked in Blood, which is a fantasy romance duology, so very different to the dark, graphic, brutal, grim The Devils. The first book in this is a Nordic Viking inspired fantasy world. We're following a main character, Freya, who has hidden all her life that she has magical powers. She is married to this person that she absolutely hates, and then one day, to save her life, she reveals these powers and ends up getting betrothed to or married to this king, and sent away with him instead. And things go from there as she discovers her powers and what her fate is in this world, as well as the romance that is taking place between her and the son of the person that she has been married to. So excited to see how this all concludes, because I have really enjoyed Daniela Jensen's writing and the way that she crafts her fantasy romantic elements together. And then finally, on the 20th of May, The Night and the Moth is coming out by Rachel Gillig. This one I'm a little bit hesitant about because I didn't love her other release, One Dark Window. I feel as though a lot of people loved One Dark Window. Like, that book was really, really popular, and I tried, but I just didn't really get the hype. So I am intrigued by this because her synopsis sound really interesting. The same about that one. Like, I think the synopsis sounds really interesting, but I'm a little bit hesitant going into this. I think I might wait and see what some of the reviews are, but it sounds great. I'm a bit tentative with it. So this is a gothic, miscloaked tale of a prophetess who is forced beyond the safety of her cloister on an impossible quest to defeat the gods with one knight whose future is beyond her sight. So it's following main character Sibel, who is a prophetess, she is a diviner. In her dreams, she receives visions from 6 unearthly figures known as omens, and then she can predict the terrible events that are going to occur, and lots of lords and common folk travel across the country to visit them. As she is ending her service at this monastery, a mysterious knight arrives at the cathedral who has no respect for her visions, but when her fellow diviners start vanishing one by one, these two need to pair up to figure out what is happening. We'll see what happens with that one. I definitely feel like her other book was very atmospheric. I just didn't really root for the romance because it felt, and I got frustrated with some of the plot points, but we'll see how that was her debut, whether things have improved in this one. And then finally moving into June, I only have 2 releases for June. I couldn't find that many. I don't know where they're hiding, maybe they're still waiting to be announced, but I couldn't find any when I was creating this list. But the 2 that I did find was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I actually haven't read a Taylor Jenkins Reid book in a while, and that's very weird that I just referenced The Seven Husbands by her when I forgot that I forgot that put on the list. Taylor Jenkins Reid typically writes historical standalone fiction books, but they make it feel as though the characters are real. The same can be said for other releases. You feel as though the characters are based on real life people, but they're actually not. They're just made up. So this one is a new novel set against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program about the extraordinary lengths we go to live and love beyond our limits. This is following Joan Goodwin, who is joining NASA's space shuttle program as one of the first women who will be going into space. Selected from a pool of thousands of applicants in the summer of 1980, she begins training at the Houston Space Center, along with a group of fellow candidates. And as the new astronauts become unlikely friends and prepare for their first flight, Joan finds a passion and love that she never imagined. But everything is going to change in an instant. It says it's a fast-paced, thrilling and emotional tale, transporting readers to iconic times and places with complex protagonists telling a passionate and soaring story about the transformative power of love, this time among the stars. And then the final book that I have on this list is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which comes out on the 10th of June. I actually have not really looked into what this book is about. I knew it was V.E. Schwab, and so I was like, absolutely, I want to read it because it's V.E. Schwab. And I have enjoyed the majority of her books. Although I've not read all of them, as you can see, Fragile Threads of Power still on that TBR shelf, but I do really enjoy, for the most part, V.E. Schwab's works. And I think this one has been compared to Addie LaRue in terms of her bibliography. It says that it follows 3 women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One in Santo Domingo de la Calzada in 1532, one in London in 1837, and one in Boston in 2019. One grows high and one grows deep, and one grows grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. It is marked as fantasy, vampires, horror, LGBT. So it doesn't really tell me very much about it. Actually, it didn't really matter that I didn't look it up, because the Goodreads synopsis does not tell you anything. Maybe that's for the better. Toxic lesbian vampires is one of the reviews, and yeah, maybe it's for the best that it doesn't actually tell me anything and I'm going in completely blind. Although I'll link the Goodreads synopsis for you, it's not really going to tell you very much. Potentially there's more on Amazon, but we'll just leave it there. Anyway, let me know if there are any releases that you're excited about that I've missed. I'm sure there probably are. I'm sure there are probably plenty of ones that I've missed. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my future videos. Bye!